So your child has ADHD and they've been struggling with learning how to read. And you're like, what do I do? I've done all the things. They've gone to school. Maybe they've had intervention at school or they've been sent out for reading groups. Maybe you've tried tutors. You've tried the apps, the flashcards, everything. Nothing seems to be sticking. And it's driving you nuts because you know your child is smart. They're hilarious. They have creative ideas. They ask great questions. Why is reading so hard for them? Maybe you've noticed that math came a lot easier. They're more excited about it. They want to do math. But the further they get into school, they're starting not to like math either, right? Because what happens is math becomes a lot of reading. You have to read the problems. You have to read the pages. It's not just math anymore. Like it was in kindergarten, first grade, second grade. It's kind of just like solving the problems. It changes. And now something they used to like, they don't like it as much. If any of that resonates, this is going to be really helpful because I'm going to give you a little insight into the ADHD rhythm and how we learn. And I say we because I myself, I have ADHD. I am a mom of an ADHD child. So I get it to my core, not just from reading the books and working with kids in school, but experiencing it myself inside my body and as a parent going through this too. Knowing about your child's brain and what's actually happening up here is going to be very helpful because it's going to give you a shared language with your kid because you can teach this to your kid. Your kid can learn this and it's going to help empower them. So let's just dive in right now and check out what is actually happening inside your child's beautifully wired ADHD brain. Okay, we're going to look at it. I am a self-proclaimed brain nerd. I think neuroscience is so fascinating. I don't have a degree in this, but man, I've read like dozens of books. I've watched all the things. This is my jam right here. Like some people for hobbies like to draw or, play pickleball or whatever. I like to read brain books. So I'm just going to spit a little bit of what I've learned at you and hopefully this is helpful. Okay. So let's look at what is ADHD? This is part of it. Okay. So this isn't going to be like everything going on, but an important part when it comes to our kids struggling with learning how to read has to do with dopamine. Dopamine, a chemical that our brain creates. It's one of the happy chemicals. We need this to help us with a lot of the jobs we do, the focusing, the memory. We have to have dopamine up in the front part of our brain called our prefrontal cortex. And what happens is we have this little guy. He's a little UPS guy is what I'm calling him. He is our neurotransmitter. Okay. So he's the guy who takes the dopamine from the factory where our brain creates it and he brings it to the prefrontal cortex, which is our boss. Yep. Our boss. He is in charge of our executive functions. Okay. The functions that are, executive, you think of like a CEO, like the chief executive officer. He's basically the CEO of our brain. He is in charge of focusing, organizing, staying calm, memory, all these really, really important things. Now, what is going on in an ADHD brain is our dopamine factory, our reward center where we're producing all this dopamine is right in the middle. Our transmitter is going to bring it up. But what happens to our ADHD brains is the bucket that our transmitter is using, our UPS guy is using, has some holes in it. So that dopamine, it's spilling out as he's making his way to the prefrontal cortex where our boss is located. So the boss is up here going, I need more dopamine, man. I need to stay calm. I need to focus. I need to organize this. Come on, man. I need to remember this. This is important. Bring me my dopamine so I can pay attention. But he's losing a lot of the dopamine on the journey. So our boss up in the front of our brain is not getting the chemical that they need to help us with all these things, with focusing, with memory, with staying calm, with organizing things. We're losing the chemical that we need for that. So people with ADHD don't have enough dopamine up in the front naturally. So what we do is we seek it. We seek dopamine and we seek stimulation to get more of that dopamine there and to make him go a little bit faster. So that's where kids it can come out as hyper because that's one way to do it is to move your body. So kids who are lacking that dopamine, they're moving. They're that, on a motor. Is that what they say? Does it seem like your child is running on a motor or something like that? That's the question they ask it. Yeah, they do. They might be bouncing around. It also can be internal though. For me, I have more of the inattentive. So you might not see it, but I'm sitting here thinking about 17 different things because my brain is seeking that stimulation. It's seeking more excitement up in the front because I'm not naturally bringing it from my dopamine factory. In 1 second. So now that you have a little look, and by the way, I had to pause because my son was in here, so sorry about that. But now that you have a little look of what's actually going on, okay? So the dopamine's leaking out. They're not getting the dopamine, so we seek stimulation other ways to keep our boss man happy, right? What does this have to do with learning how to read? Well, tasks that your child finds boring or that they're taking too long, right? So all the dopamine is drained out. We don't have it there. It's causing them to want to find stimulation in a different way. And this can lead to mind wandering. Squirrels, you know what I'm talking about. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. You're losing your impulse control. So when your child is kind of like, oh my gosh, they don't take a beat to think about what they're doing. They just go and do it. And sometimes it's not the best choice. That could be this reason. They're losing that dopamine. And then their motor, like I said, their motor is turning on. So they are just busy. They're all over the place. This all can start happening if your child is in that traditional learning setting, okay? They're going to school, they're going to a tutor, you're trying to get them to sit down and do an hour-long learning session at home with you, any of these. This is not designed for the ADHD rhythm because we're burning them out of their dopamine really quick. And after a few minutes, all these things are going to start happening. And all of a sudden, their prefrontal cortex is not in a place where they can focus, where they can remember what they're doing, where they can stay calm, where they can organize their thoughts or organize what they're working on. All the things that are very important for them to learn, it's not working anymore. It's faulty. So what does an ADHD brain actually need then, right? Because the traditional school setting where they're sitting down and listening to a teacher, even if it's for 20 minutes, that might be too much for your child's brain. Sending them to a tutor once a week for an hour straight session, that traditional tutoring, that is old school now. That is not designed to help your child's ADHD brain actually learn, okay? Trying to force your child to sit down with you and go through a leveled book or a workbook you got from the store, or go through these flashcards, and you can't leave until we finish these flashcards. That's not working with your child's ADHD rhythm. What we want to do instead, what's going to be the best for your child, because they absolutely can become great readers, great writers, great thinkers, great leaders and inventors and creators. They've got all the potential. We got to work with their rhythm and not try to force them to fit a typical rhythm. A typical kid who has the right amount of dopamine in their brain and can sit there and listen and focus. Awesome. Your child needs something different. Here's what they need. They need short bursts most days. Okay, so if you're trying to catch your child up, they're behind. They need 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes. That's kind of pushing it for them. They need short bursts, but most days of the week, so that we're building those roads slowly, those pathways in their brain that they need to know something. We slowly got to build those most days of the week. So once a week tutoring, not a great option for an ADHD brain. Okay. If they are going to reading groups at school, special reading groups at school, make sure they're going most days of the week. I know when I was an interventionist, I was a reading specialist in the school, I was being pulled to sub 3 days a week. So I was maybe seeing my groups maybe twice a week. It was not enough for them. It was very frustrating. It was a huge reason why I had to leave the schools, because I knew what I was doing, but I wasn't able to reach them in a way that I knew was effective. That's why I'm doing this now, because kids need more than that. They also need targeted learning, okay? They don't need to cover a lot of things. When you send your child to once a week tutoring and they're only going for they're going for an hour, they want to cover a bunch, right? Because they're only seeing them this one time this week. So they're trying to cover all the things. That's not right for your child's brain. Their rhythm, they need to work on one specific thing and then walk away and take a break. One specific thing, walk away, take a break. I think of this like you're going to the gym and going like, okay, today's a leg day. You're going to go and you're going to target the legs. You're going to do leg exercises. You're not walking around the gym just picking up random things. Oh, I'll go on the bike and then I'll do the dumbbells and then I'll do some legs and then I'll go play pickleball. I don't know what's up with the pickleball today. It's in my brain apparently. No, you're targeting one part. You can go in, do the exercises you need and get out. That's what we're doing. We're going in, we're working on exactly what your child needs, and we're getting out. That's the rhythm that they need. And then their brain is kind of this mix of, they like routine, they want to know what's coming, but they also need that novelty. They need something a little bit different to pique their interest, to keep them going, hey, what's about to come up? What's about to happen? So that mix of both routine and novelty is great for an ADHD brain, because we can't just do the same thing over and over. When things get boring and that dopamine stops flowing there, your kids, that's when the squirrels come out. That's when the mind wandering happens. That's when the motor turns on. That's when their impulses go up. So they need both routine and novelty. So if you want to create that ADHD rhythm that works, you want short most days, very targeted, work on exactly what they need and then get out, okay? And then you need both that rhythm and that novelty. Now, if you want your ADHD child to learn in a way that works for their brain, I think of it like we're going to flow down the stream with them. That's the easy way to go, right? Most solutions out there, they're trying to go up the stream. They're trying to do it against what your child's brain actually needs. And it's so much harder for everyone. We want to teach your kids in a way that goes down the stream with your kids, works with how their brain works. And I get it because it's how my brain works too. So I built this in a way that literally would work for my brain, for my son's brain, for my husband's brain, all of us fun ADHD people. You got to check out our 12-week reading accelerator. It is meant to help your child. It is going to stop the fighting, the eye rolls, the meltdowns, the shutdowns where they just say, I can't, I'm too dumb, this is too hard. They're only saying that because they're being taught in a way that doesn't work for them. Let's switch that completely. Let's teach them in a way that works for their beautifully wired brains. Not try to fix them or change them at all, but instead embrace their unique and wonderful, wonderful wiring and show them exactly how smart and amazing they are. So I'm going to have some information down in the description if you want to check it out more and join our 12-week reading accelerator. Otherwise, I want you, no matter what, think about this ADHD rhythm. How can you do this with your kids? How can you talk to their teachers about implementing this in school as well when school comes back? I'm filming this at the time. It's summertime, so this might be something that comes around when the school year comes around. But talk to their teachers. You can do this at home. I can help you out if you want inside of our reading accelerator. You've got this, okay? You've got this. You are the number one teacher in your child's life. If you are a parent watching this, you are the number one teacher in your child's life. And you can do this, all right? You've got this. I've got you. And I will catch you in the next one.